I never knew my mum. She died during childbirth. Lived long enough to hold me in her arms, look me in the eyes and say, Sam. Dad said the very last moment of her life was the happiest one, so at least she went out on a high. Dad was a drug addict when I was born, so I only spent a few months with him before I was shipped off to foster homes. The first people who had me were arrested for kidnapping a child in the 80s, and I was forwarded on to an elderly couple before I turned 1. I'm sure they were the best parents I ever had, but they didn't last very long. Ian had passed away in his sleep when I was 18 months, and Rex, well, he died of a broken heart soon after. I was sent to an upper class couple after that, and I lived with Carlos and Anastasia for the next 8 years. Anastasia hated me right from the get-go because Spot, her bunny rabbit, died of shock the day I arrived. It's hardly a toddler's fault that rabbits have zero constitution, but all the same, I was scorned by her for most of my childhood. She was the least hands-on parent in the universe, and I think I was technically raised by Nintendo. My first words were Donkey Kong. I was homeschooled for those 8 years, and when I was 7, I'm pretty sure I topped the state in The Legend of Zelda. Carlos was an even worse parent than the Game Boy. He'd come into my room about once a week to check if I died from malnutrition. He'd just stand there awkwardly in the doorway, and after a few minutes he'd shake my hand and hurry off like I was some old acquaintance he didn't want to talk to. Just before I turned 10, my dad convinced the courts he was off drugs and got custody of me. He was over the moon. I was put on a train to Arcadia Station, and Dad met me there with a Labrador puppy he'd named Lucky. Lucky was so excited to meet his new best friend that he leapt right on top of me as I arrived. Except I was still on a moving train and the poor thing got minced. It was a fairly mixed reunion. A few days after I moved into Dad's pokey flat, he started coughing. At first it was a little but it quickly grew worse and worse until his entire breathing cycle consisted of a gasp in and a choke out. Cancer got him when I was 10 years and 10 days. Off I went to another foster home. After less than 6 months, my 2 dads, Charles and Charlie, were killed in an accident on the motorway. When my next foster mum died of a stroke at 27, I knew something was wrong with me. I relocated again and went to see a priest. What would you like to confess, my child? Father, I replied, I think I'm possessed by the devil. Everyone around me has gone to heaven. My mum, my dad, the Charleses, the old couple, even Lucky and Spot. I'm not very good at maths, but this many deaths seems very improbable. How am I supposed to live if everyone around me goes to heaven, Father? Father? Hello? Next guy I lived with is still alive today. He worked at a warehouse and was terribly fond of marijuana. Smoking it on a daily basis when he got home from work at 4 a.m. Now, I don't know how he was legally entitled to adopt, but I suspect he hired someone from Gumtree.com to be his de facto partner during interviews. Damo and I didn't have much to do with each other, but all things considered, he was a reasonable parent who got me through school and into my own apartment. I moved in with 2 nerds I met through World of Warcraft, but I was the only one who survived the fire. By the time I was living alone and working from home as a programmer, I was over it. I mean, what the hell was wrong with me? What evil spirit had I pissed off to end up as a town death magnet? At 19, I tried to kill myself. I nailed a sturdy hook into the rafter and swung a rope over it. Looked up how to make a noose on the internet and slipped it over my neck. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and kicked the chair out from beneath me. There was a god-awful crack and the rafter swung down off the ceiling in an arc, smashing into my goldfish bowl and sending Princess Peach out the window. Screw this, I said, and I leapt out after her. Fell 4 stories and landed on a little old lady. Oh, poor Mrs. Bellevue. I staggered out onto the road in a car that swerved to miss me. Finished the old dear off. My guilt at being the only one able to stay alive for more than 5 minutes tripled, and I tried everything I could to end myself. Did you know if you put a gun right next to your head and pull the trigger, it's still possible to hit the wrong person? I jumped off a cliff, but a gust of wind blew me into a tree growing out of a rock face. The helicopter that came to rescue me, I tried to drown myself, but I ended up with a box jellyfish in my mouth, and the guy that did CPR got stung and asphyxiated. I tried explosives and exposure and electrocution, but all I succeeded in doing was becoming the first person in the country to be blacklisted by emergency services. Now I gave up on offing myself, and I came up with a mission instead. If I couldn't hold down a meaningful relationship or own a pet, the least I could do was grow some flowers. So I converted my unused garage space into a greenhouse, and I bought a stack of vibrant, healthy plants. I watered them every day, and one by one, they wilted and died. I bought some more, watered them just once. They wilted too. I tried 100 different species, but nothing lasted for more than a fortnight. Even the damn succulents. I tried everything I could think of, but still no flowers. I read horticulture magazines and tried everything. Water, fertilizer, sunlight, shade. I read one Stephen King. I played one Mozart. They all died. Meanwhile, my mail had stopped coming. They were running out of postmen. Then one day, I went downstairs and I saw something miraculous. Well, there was a bud. A tiny shoot of green sticking his head through one of the hundreds of empty pots. Oh, I was overjoyed. I posted on the pot plant forums and told them all about it. Took a photo after a week and sent it to my friend Flora Van Eyck. Flora Van Eyck said it was marijuana. Marijuana? But, damn teenagers. But wait. Damo was a pothead and my dad was a drug addict. Did this mean I made contact with some stoner kids from high school and we started hanging out? They didn't die! Ecstasy! Oh, you know what I mean. Finally, my life would be normal. I could have a very slow, perpetually hungry cat. I could fall in love. Someone to say, honey, I'm home, and make me grey waves for dinner. I mean, it sucked that the only thing capable of surviving around me could quite possibly land me in prison. I mean, why couldn't it be, I don't know, sunflowers? No one gets 3 to 6 months for growing sunflowers. No, I thought the best idea was to go somewhere where marijuana wasn't illegal. So I saved my money up and I bought a one-way ticket to Amsterdam. It was a great idea, except I should have put more thought into it. No one else survived the crash. I caught the interest of someone in national security after that. Unbreakable Sam, he called me. Tried to kill yourself a dozen times but couldn't pull it off, he said. Ever thought about joining the army? He asked. And that's the story of how I joined the Special Forces in Afghanistan in the only regiment encouraged to get high while on duty. They call us the Flowers because of all the bud. All I do is walk through the desert watching rifles misfiring and bombs randomly detonating in nearby caves. I've been captured 4 times now, but I always manage to get out within a day or two. Not everyone gets dealt a winning hand, you know. But all things considered, I can't complain. I may not be destined for happiness in this life, but at least I get to be useful. And that's cool. Useful works for me just fine. I'm not dying to be happy.